If you can hear the AC or the dishwasher, I'm sorry about that. But I wanted to wear this sweater because I want to be bitch light. I wanted to be in the holiday spirit for Halloween. So I wore my pumpkin hoodie or sweater because I think it's very cute. But I live in Texas, so it's still like 90 degrees outside. So the AC is on. I'm sorry about that. What does it even mean to be a witch nowadays? I literally got this witchcraft book from Spirit Halloween. I haven't been on TikTok in like a year, but TikTok has a supremely crazy amount of witches on it. And I've definitely delved into some sort of witchy stuff. I mean, I have a bunch of tarot cards that I like to read every now and then. I obviously like to burn incense, and I might have tried to cast a spell or two in my life. But I really haven't been like super involved with witchcraft, and I've definitely been like off the bandwagon for the past like 2 to 3 years. There's just been too much going on in my life, and I really didn't want to just swap one religion for another. And so while witchcraft was very interesting to me, I didn't want to dive headfirst into a religion that I didn't really know, especially after having spent most of my life being unfortunately forced to be Catholic. And so as I was recovering from that madness, witchcraft was really inspiring to me, with this kind of sense of you are the one with the power, you can take your power back. But at the same time, I had just gotten out of a terribly abusive relationship with my religion, and I wasn't excited to start another one. So yeah, I do like and use tarot cards, and I do burn incense, and maybe I meditate in front of a candle, and maybe I'll dance naked in the moonlight. But you know, that doesn't make me a witch, right? But it is now spooky season, and the idea of witchcraft has never really left my mind. And today, I kind of want to dive headfirst into some of that witchcraftiness. Specifically, witchcraft divination. Divination, for those of you who don't play D&D, is the magic of like looking into the future and predicting the future. I'm obviously not an expert or anything on this. Like I just said, I don't really consider myself to be a witch despite dabbling in witchcraft whenever I get the chance to. So my definition is not perfect, but the way I see it is it's a school of magic that helps you predict the future. And there are so many different ways to do divination. We're gonna try 5 different divination methods today. There are so many more. These are just the 5 that I've chosen for today. In order to get the best success from each of these divination styles, I am gonna do what I have been told is the best way to go about divination. More specifically tarot, but I am going to apply these rules to all these forms of divination. I was originally planning on doing some very specific questions, some less specific but time-sensitive questions, and then a broad, vague question. My only issue is with some of the divination methods we're going to be using here today, I don't know how possible it truly is to get a specific answer to any question. So as much as I appreciate something like tarot or a few other ones that we're going to look at today that can give very specific information like that, in order to make it kind of a fair fight between all 3 of these, I'm going to not do that. And we're just going to go ahead and talk about and work through what I've been told is the best way to utilize a divination tool, which is usually the way tarot readers who do this kind of professionally tell you to use tarot. Not necessarily ask what will happen, but more how do I make what I want to happen. Again, kind of focusing on putting that power on you. The cards don't hold any power. You hold the power to make your future happen. The cards are just there to guide you along the path. At least that's a term or like a way of explaining it that I've heard before. So for that style of question, trying to stick to like what people who do this often say the best way to do it is, I would like to ask all of these divination methods, how should I spend the last few months out of the year to make it the best it can be? How to set me up success for next year? A much longer question, but a much more vague question. And again, kind of putting the onus on me to get anything I want done. I'm hoping that doing this, even though it's not as interesting and won't give us more fun, oh, the cards that I was gonna get in a crash this week and then it never happened, I do think that gives the best of these a fighting chance. And just sitting here thinking about some of these divination methods, I don't know how I would ask like 3 separate questions for some of these, but then also very specific questions and expect very specific answers. So we're just gonna try and do these as properly as possible. It might be less funny, but maybe you'll learn some things about this divination along with me. And maybe by the end of the year, I'll update you guys on what happened, which divination tool was right, and if I would ever use them again. So instead, we're gonna focus on the supremely vague but apparently appropriate way to ask this question. We are going to ask the tarot cards, what do I need to do to make these last few months of the year as best as they can be and set me up for success next year? I shuffle my cards like this because my hands are too small to shuffle them the normal way. And I usually try and get 3 cards out for each reading. I think much more than that is just too much for me to keep track of in my mind. And I think 3 is a good solid number. Ooh, we got 1. Ooh, we got the moon, symbolized by a werewolf, which I think is just beautiful. The artwork on these cards are absolutely fantastic. This picture, the moon represented by a werewolf, there's literally the picture of a wolf with a man inside. I think it's absolutely gorgeous artwork. Next we have the hangman upside down, presented by Odin. If you know a lot about tarot, you know why Odin would be presented on the hangman. The reason the hangman is Odin was hanging upside down from a tree, drinking from a river or pool of like knowledge, basically, and learning, but at a massive self-sacrifice. So the hangman tarot is normally about self-sacrifice, but also gaining knowledge from that sacrifice. And last, we have the star. We've got 3 major arcana, which is crazy. It's just, as you can see, it's the full tarot deck, and I got only major arcana. So accidentally pulled only major arcana. Let's go through each of these individually. Again, keeping in mind that question of what do I need to do in order to make the next few months the best they can be, and also set me up for next year. We'll start with the moon. Again, we have the moon here represented absolutely gorgeously by a werewolf. This is an amazing card. Meaning fear, illusion, anxiety, deception, and shadow side. Asking a question about what I should do, this is a kind of a confusing card to get. So with each of these that have the folklore on them, not all of them do, it has a little excerpt about what it's about. The werewolf one, you already know what it's about, you know what a werewolf is. But at the very end here it says we must learn to acknowledge and accept negative aspects of yourself in order to overcome them. So maybe that's what this card is pointing me towards. Everyone has negative aspects to them, that's just what it's like to be human. So maybe I need to take a deeper look at myself, things I don't like, and try and not focus on them, but use them to my advantage, or maybe try and decide why I don't like that about myself and how I can help myself in the future. I don't know, it's a thought, and we'll keep it in mind as we go on. Next up, the hangman, presented by Odin. Very cool picture. Odin with his ravens, as well as he has lost his eye. I do like the traditional picture of him hanging upside down, though. Oh, I got right to it. The hangman, learning from mistakes, letting go, sacrifice, and suspension. Okay, similar theming in a way, at least if we're going off that last sentence in the werewolf one, or the moon one, of kind of letting go, looking into yourself and kind of realizing what you're lacking or what your mistakes are and moving on, learning from mistakes. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so that's interesting. We'll move on now to the star. So the star is represented by the Sumerian goddess Inanna, later called Ishtar by the Babylonians. Again, a very beautiful picture. Gorgeous picture. The star upright, serenity, hope, spirituality, purpose, and inspiration. Okay, interesting. So trying to put this all together, all in one, what are we getting from this? Keeping in mind our question was, what should I do over these next few months to make them as best as I can be, as well as set me up for the future? So it looks like I'm gonna have to do a lot of introspection. Looking into myself, learning from that, and then finding purpose from that, maybe? Inspiration? Because the last card here is, again, giving that whole, like, moving forward, moving on, inspiration, hope, and, like, knowing. These two are much more about, like, introspection, and more about... The hangman specifically is a lot about, like, learning. So maybe I'll have to confront some demons here in the upcoming few months. But I guess we'll have to see. The Knight of Wands is a unicorn. It's so pretty. I love this deck so much. Anyways, so that's our first method, taking care of tarot cards. Let's keep in mind what the tarot cards we're saying and compare that to what we're about to do with all these other divination tactics. So now let's move on to something a little bit more fun, even though I'm really not expecting to get that many results from it. So the next thing we're gonna do is look into a crystal ball. I've had this for quite a while. It's very cool, very fun. I like it a lot. But it is not like a true crystal ball that you're used to seeing. It's more of like this weird globe thing, but I still like it. I still think it's cool. So we're gonna use this for our next method of divination. Now, typically, people use crystal balls as what they call scrying, which is more like seeing the present but alternate perspectives. We're not going to do that. We're going to try and look into the future. First step, it says find a dark, quiet place. So that's not going to happen. So, whoops. Light one candle, keep it to the side of the ball. I don't know if you're supposed to be able to see the reflection of the candle in it, maybe. Then it says to focus my mind and body, look into the crystal ball without straining my eyes, and just let numbers and symbols appear to me. Oh, it says it might have to be activated, and I didn't do that. So we'll see how this goes. It says keep in mind the things you see are probably symbolic. So we will keep that in mind if I see anything. Full disclosure, I did already use this book to try and talk to the frogs and it didn't work. So the dishwasher is not helping, but we'll try and focus my mind. It just got louder. Focusing on the question, how do I make the next months the best they can be? And then how do I focus them and turn it into success for the next year? There's some bubbles suspended in here that I didn't notice before, so that's cool. More than anything, it's just kind of tripping me out because I can see myself, but also the wall behind me, and then my mouth moving, and then the ceiling, and also the camera because it's a ball of glass. So everything's kind of like weirdly morphed and like repeated. So I'm not like really seeing any numbers or patterns or anything. Did notice that one of those portraits up there in here at the perfect angle kind of looks like a 9. The never-ending story. There's like a negative space right over there that kind of looks like a 9 reflected in the crystal wall. I'm mostly just noticing how frizzy my hair is and that I need a haircut, and also that I'm afraid anybody who's high looking at this would probably get really tripped out because it is kind of like the same image kind of layered over each other. So I saw the number 9 kind of, and I'm mostly just thinking that people would be really worried looking into this if they weren't in the right headspace. So how does that answer my question? I don't know if it really does. Maybe somehow the number 9 will play into my future. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that using crystal ball is not really for me. Didn't really answer to my questions. So if we had to rank these about how likely I am to use these again, so far that one's on the bottom. But don't worry, we'll kind of have very similar ones here in a little bit. I think I'm gonna move on to something a little bit like the tarot cards, a little bit more like you will get an answer, because I think it's fun to do it that way. So let's move on to Rune Stones. These are not actually rune stones. These are little stars that I made that I put runes on because I don't have rune stones. I don't know where to get rune stones. So I made my own. Google said I could make my own, and if the Google witches are lying to me, everything is lost. I shouldn't pull those out now. Okay, so I have this full of little stars. They have runes on them. One side has the rune on them, one side has nothing on it. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to cleanse the rune stones with our smoke that we have here. We'll go ahead and focus on our question as I kind of shake them around. Then we will spread them on the table. So what we need to be looking out for is whether they're facing up or down, and then on top of that, how close they are to center, supposedly. We'll see what that means later on. But let's think about our question. Our question is, how am I going to make the next few months as the best they can be? And then how will I then use that to make the next year better? A lot of them are actually facing down. These on the sides, I also did this with paint markers, so some of them are kind of hard to read. So I have quite a bit of them facing down. Are you supposed to only read the ones that face up? There are 24 runes here, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 facing up, so really not that many. And that one's also facing down. Never mind, I only have 4 facing up, 5 facing up. So starting closest to the center and moving out of the ones that are facing up. For the one closest to center, we have Urus. Freedom, energy, action, courage, strength, tenacity, understanding, and wisdom. Holy shit, that's so many. What is it not, I guess? Well, I guess we'll keep that one in mind. Slightly further out from center, we have dogs. Change directed by your own will and transformation. Okay, that one's much more concrete and to the point. Change, I am directing the change. Okay, that is kind of in line with what the tarot cards were saying. In a way, we'll move on slightly away from center again with Algis. Defense, warding off evil, shield, guardian, connection with the gods, awakening, and higher life. Okay. Again, a lot of concepts shoved into one. Defense, warding off evil, shield, guardian. Those are all kind of similar concepts. Then connecting with the gods and awakening and higher life are kind of, I feel like, very separate. Next, I feel like this one's closer, so let's do this one next. This one is Ansuz. I'm sorry about pronunciation throughout this whole video. Communication, signals, inspiration, enthusiasm, speech, true vision, power of words. Okay, so this one's a lot about just like talking. Communication, the power of words, speech, true vision. Okay, so I've got communication, freedom, but also courage, tenacity, understanding, and wisdom. Okay, let's look at our last one. Othala, what is truly important to one? Source of safety, increase in abundance. Okay, this feels very scattered and very hard for me to like kind of get it all together to make one like, what is this? What is the answer? What are you telling me? Change direction by your own will. That again feels very much like the tarot, looking what's truly important to someone. Okay, so like kind of what's important to you, making that change on your own. We have an awakening one in here, but again, it's just kind of like communication and power of speech to me is weird because I don't really know where that fits in with the rest of it. It's an interesting thing. Maybe I'll see that make more sense here in the upcoming months. And then this one, the first one, the Urus, which is just a wide range of literally everything. So again, that self-driven narrative is very interesting to see cropping up again here. Not so much a struggle with your inner demons, like tarot was kind of telling me, but maybe like what's truly important to yourself could kind of be in that same vein. So not super specific like I felt like it was gonna be, but kind of this vibe, again, kind of similar to the tarot, but maybe I'm just being influenced by that, of something not so great is gonna happen that you might have to confront, but like make your own decisions and like be very strong, and something about communication that I'm not entirely sure what that's about. So I truly can't come up with like a one sentence or like a true like very specific answer to my question, but maybe these are things I can keep in mind. The communication one's really throwing me for a loop, honestly. Also, it said to take note of which one was closest to the center, but I'm not sure why. Like, I don't understand the importance of that. So I definitely don't think the runes were very helpful in giving me a very direct answer to my question. I'm not really sure how to interpret that, but we can go ahead and move on to the next one, which again, I think is going to be pretty vague and pretty hard to interpret, kind of like the crystal ball. You might have been looking at everything going on this table right now and said, why do you have two fake candles when you have a real candle right here? And that is because we're gonna do some pyromancy. Yes, so I have a real candle for divination and fake candles for set dressing. So this one is gonna be a lot clearer than I thought it would. There are actual answers. So we're gonna choose our candle. We've done this. Okay, so we're gonna clearly define our question. Our question is, what can I do to make the next few months coming up incredibly good for me, as well as set me up for success for next year? Cleansing, cleanse with smoke water. Well, I ran out of smoke, so we're gonna have to get a new cleansing stick, aka incense. Haven't used incense in a minute. Now it's getting all kinds of used up today. So it smells good. Then we're gonna light the candle and observe the flame and smoke. I don't think there's gonna be smoke, as well as any soot left over. Okay, we've got lots of stuff we can look at. I think we're mostly gonna do the flame, although you can also do wax interpretation, which might have been fun if I didn't pick a candle that's encased. So with our question in mind, let's go ahead and get this bitch lit. I wonder if it matters that it's a 2-wick candle, since I will like ruin it or something. Okay, I'm watching the flame. Observe the flame. I am observing. Okay, it's flickering a lot. Flickering indicates destruction or obstacles. Also, the AC is on, but just an option. Yeah, it's mostly just a lot of flickering. So distractions or obstacles does kind of go in line with what we were talking about earlier from the tarot and the runes. Some introspection might be needed. It does say high flames are representative of strong energy. I don't think these are like terribly high, but from how little wick there is, it is kind of high. I think we should do the smoke next, because I'm not good. I think we should interpret the smoke and the soot, because apparently you can interpret the soot also. I don't think this is even gonna leave behind any soot, but we'll see. So we're looking for, if the smoke comes towards me. What does that mean? If the smoke comes towards me, positive outcome. Traveling away from you, patience is needed. Okay, so away, patience, towards, positive outcome. Either opposite way, I'm gonna say that's nothing. I would say it kind of went off in that direction, so not really sure what that means. I'm just glad it wasn't like the crystal ball and I was supposed to interpret numbers or something from it, because I definitely did not. So while that candle did smell good and it was fun to play with fire, it seems like actually interpreting it leaves a lot to be desired, and I think things are just way less under control. Like, I only got a flickering flame and it's like the AC's on, there's a lot going on, I'm in the biggest room in the house, so I don't know. I think it would have been more fun to do wax drippings. Maybe I'll do that later. But for our last divination method, it's been here the whole time, directly in front of you. We're gonna do tea leaf reading. Now, I did have loose leaf tea, but the leaves are very big, and I don't think that's what you're supposed to do for loose leaf tea. We're gonna try our best and see how this works. I left a little bit amount of tea at the bottom, like it says to do. Swirl it around a little bit, and then I don't like this. I feel like this is gonna be a mess. I knew it. I knew it was gonna be a mess. This was the most exciting so far. You have to wash this blanket now. Okay, it says let it drain, turn it upright, and look at the symbols and patterns. Okay, that's a lot of tea leaves. Which helps a little bit, because I was like, there's too much tea in here to read properly, but I guess that's how you do it. You dump most of them out. Okay, let's look at my leaves and interpret, minus the leaves all over the table now. And it says to focus on your topic while you're drinking the tea, and since I've been drinking this the whole video, I think that counts. Okay, it says hold the handle towards your heart, study the concepts. Note any shapes or symbols that jump out at you. Don't second guess, trust your hunch. Okay, we actually got symbols on this website, which is great. What am I looking for? It says pretend like you're looking into clouds, just let shapes come to you. Let me take a picture of it, that way I can put it into the video. So now you can see what I'm looking at and we can interpret together. It does say you're allowed to move your cup around though, so I'm gonna be doing that a lot. Kind of see a face right here. Is that one of the signs? No. Cool. There's a tiny bit of water left in here. You see a moon, 25. Crescent moon means prosperity. Okay, I like that. Are we allowed to like interpret them together? Like they have a fucking owl on here. Definitely don't see an owl. I see kind of like Italy. Oh, I guess that could be a cat. What is the cat? The cat gossip. Okay. I mostly just see a big moon. I can kind of see an anchor. Anchor for 7, stability and difficult to change. Mostly just a big ass glob. That could be those mountains. Journey, that makes sense. And there you have it. Journey, prosperity, gossip, and stability. Journey, prosperity, gossip, and what was the other one? Prosperity, did I ever say that? How do I interpret this? How do I answer my question using this? Journey, okay, makes sense. I'm talking about going from right now to next year. Journey, prosperity, that's a good sign. Stability, that's another good sign. I don't know, that's my best guess. If you guys see something else in my tea leaves, you let me know, but that's the best I could do. But yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to do in this video. Just go through some divination techniques, try them out for myself, see how I felt about them. I really like tarot. Tarot is definitely my favorite. The tea reading is fun because it's like an activity you get to do, but I think the actual interpretation of it is supremely difficult. The candle one, again, I didn't really glean much from it, but it is fun to just light a candle. And this one, really no good for me, honestly. Mostly just gave me a headache from staring at my own face repeated over and over again. The Rune Stones were fun, so I think that's gonna be it from me in this video today. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you're just as excited for Halloween as I am, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.